Is Clemson really done? Tom Fornelli thinks so, said so on a recent podcast appearance that Clemson is done, that they're not coming back. The old Clemson will never be seen again. Is that the case? Alex Donno of Locked On ACC and Locked On Canes is here. I understand where Fornelli's coming from with what he said. You can go read the full quote if you are so inclined. But to summarize what he said, last year, I think, scarred him for Clemson. And look, they were my preseason national title pick. I put faith in them. I wasn't the only one. And certainly there was some internal scarring as I think about who I might pick or like to win the ACC or make the playoff or contend for a national championship. Yeah, I'm with you there. That Clemson roster was way better than the season they ended up having. I don't agree with this premise, though, that they're dead, they're never coming back. Changes would have to be made. But if this is the way I look at it, Donno. If Clemson were to move on from Dabo Swinney after this year, if they go 5-7 and they say, all right, it's time to go, and Dabo Swinney says, you know what, I'm done with NIL and the portal and all that. I'm done with college football. He wouldn't be the first legend to clock out during this NIL portal era. Nick Saban. If he were to do that, Clemson would be, I think, pretty easily the top job on the market, right? I don't think the infrastructure is lacking. You have got support. You have got the ability to go out and use the portal. You're just choosing not to, and it's clearly putting you behind other programs in the country. I agree that Clemson is not a national title contender this year, but I don't think that they're just done, down, dead forever, can't come back. I don't agree with that particular framing of this discussion.
I think Fornelli could have and maybe meant to be more specific in saying that Clemson under Dabo Swinney is not coming back, because that to me is the reality. It is catching up with him, having his principles where, yeah, he uses the portal a little bit now. Not going to say he never does it, although when he used the portal on linebacker Luke Forelli, who then took a bag from Ole Miss after already enrolling at Clemson, that might have scared Dabo away from ever using the portal again.
Yep.
But you see the results have been dwindling for Clemson. Their blue chip ratio is no longer what it was, because something that concerns me, Spencer, in addition to the obvious portal stuff not being there for Dabo Swinney, his recruiting classes are not what they were, before the NIL era. Like, they used to be routinely within the top 5, top 10 at worst. Past 3 to 4 recruiting cycles, they haven't been within the top 15. And to me, that's unfortunate, because Dabo Swinney has like an ace in the hole when it comes to selling recruits on his program, and that's, hey, if you come play for Clemson, we're not going to recruit over you in the transfer portal in a year or two. Like, we're going to give you every opportunity for 3 to 5 years to develop here, and I'm not going to take a guy in from the portal to take your job. That, to me, is a really powerful pitch. And if you're still unable to generate top 15 classes despite having that, which a lot of other programs can't make that promise because of the way they use the portal, that, to me, tells me that Dabo, unfortunately, has lost his magic touch there. I think he's still a hell of a football coach. I think when it comes to the X's and O's stuff, he's still one of the very best in the country. But when it comes to the modern style of program building, I don't think, to your point about legends stepping away, I think Dabo might have to become one of those. And if and when that day comes, Clemson, the facilities are top-notch there. I think what their boosters are willing to spend on football especially should give them an opportunity to compete with the best of the best in college football. They just have a head coach and an administration right now that doesn't want to use all those resources.
I've thrown out this notion with regards to other programs, but Clemson would certainly fit the bill. Again, they'd have to move on from Dabo Swinney, of course, but the number one head coaching carousel target for the 2027 season is going to be Bryant Haynes at Indiana, who just won the Broyles Award. He's the defensive coordinator coming from Curt Cignetti. Everybody's going to want a piece of that. He's a brilliant schematic coach, and he's been with Cignetti for a very long time. So I just don't see how he survives I'm frankly amazed he's still in Bloomington for another year. That is one of the greatest. I think he's making somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million. But again, it still is amazing that Cignetti was able to keep him there. But I look at what that would be if Bryant Haynes were put in charge, or if, Sean Lewis at San Diego State will be another name to watch in the next cycle. If the Clemson job came open, I think these guys would all go there and thrive. And the decision just has to actually get made. Because I'm with you that it's probably not if it didn't happen last year for Dabo, and look, they won the ACC 2 seasons ago. It's not as if, as you said, Dabo's completely forgotten how to coach. But last year was such a flop. The recruiting is indeed falling off. They still have a top 20 class in the 2026 cycle, which is good. You can keep being good, especially in the ACC with that level of talent acquisition. To be what they were, no, that's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean the program, the same conversation, not same, but a similar conversation has been had with Texas A&M for a long time. Well, Texas A&M, they're never going to amount to anything. They're just all this and that. Well, suddenly you put the right coach in charge and they're 11-1 and making the college football playoff. Funny how that works. I think there is a similar vibe with Clemson. You don't have a guy there who's going to put them back to elite status. But what about that job? Location, conference, brand power, recruiting potential, fan and donor support. What is that job missing to be an elite job in college football? And I don't think there's really anything, right? I think if you put the right guy in charge, Clemson is a top 10 job in the sport.
Yeah, and it's a shame that we're even having this conversation because, like, Dabo could easily choose to be the right guy if he were to just embrace this era of college football and say, you know what, even if I don't really want to get my hands dirty, let me get a proper football GM in that can be the guy who handles, the NIL and the recruiting processes. I think the ego comes into play for him. And, in terms of whatever the end of the Dabo Swinney era is going to look like, and I don't want to sound like I'm the Grim Reaper here or anything, because, again, I respect the heck out of Dabo Swinney as a football coach. There's just obviously something missing there right now. Dabo has earned so much equity as a 2-time national championship coach. Like, there's really no conversation that Clemson leadership can have to, like, really push him out. I think it's got to be his decision. So it's really got to get to the point where Dabo decides, hey, maybe the best thing for me and the best thing for Clemson University is for me to move on and maybe ride off into either an administrative role at Clemson if he wants to stay at that university, because he means so much. I mean, we talk about what Clemson football should be. Dabo Swinney is the one who created that standard, because I'm old enough to remember when Clemson was kind of an afterthought when it came to football, and Dabo made that the destination job you talk about for maybe their future head coach. So he's earned a lot of equity there, but I think for him, either adopting this modern era or realizing he's not the guy to embrace it is the decision he's going to have to come to.
Alex Donno, Locked On ACC and Locked On Canes. Check him out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to bounce to the Big 12 next because, once again, old, reliable death taxes and Utah football, as Joel Klatt likes to say. Will they be back in the fold without Kyle Whittingham? That coming up next.